Welcome to This Week in Rockford, episode 12, recorded January 11th, 2017. With us, we have very special guests. We have Kathy Mehalko. We have Katie, her companion. We'll find out what kind of dog she is shortly, and it will surprise you. We've got Jim Haggerty. We know what kind of dog he is. And Caleb Wilson. And, of course, Jake the Snake Morgan behind the scenes on the production. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So I see you brought a guest, another guest.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes, Katie is one of my rescues. Right now in my home, I have 11 dogs. And
that is a lot of dogs.
Yes, I am zoned agricultural, so I do not have a limit on the amount of dogs that I can have in rescue or in foster, I should say, with my home.
Okay, so you're a foster parent for dogs.
I am.
Okay.
Yes. And so, I foster for a Promise of Love rescue in Beloit, Wisconsin.
Gotcha. What kind of dog is Katie?
Katie is what the puppy mills call a Havishit.
Okay.
And she was bred specifically for the interesting name. Puppy mills have a tendency to throw aside concerns of genetics, what is would be a quality dog in regards to what would bring the most profits, hence the look or the name. And Katie is a Havishit, which is a crossbreed between a Shih Tzu and a Havanese. And they have also crossbred a Bulldog and a Shih Tzu, and they call that a Havishit. So people can say, when someone asks you what kind of dog is that, you can say the name and everybody can have a laugh.
So the name on the Bulldog and the Havishit is... Or the Shih Tzu is...
Havishit and Bullshit.
There we go.
That was from a Jim Carrey movie, Dumb and Dumber, where Jeff Daniels kind of quipped that, as a joke. And
really?
I don't think anybody ever took it seriously, because to me, breeding a Bulldog with a Shih Tzu would be kind of a... I mean, Bulldogs already have very hard labor. And
absolutely, they are.
So some of the mothers don't even make it.
High maintenance dogs.
Oh, wow.
Bulldogs are, yes.
So I mean, I don't even know how they go about the whole union there.
They basically rape the dogs.
Oh,
actually,
boy.
Some dogs are left to
They
breed
being
naturally.
the puppy mill people?
The puppy millers, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes dogs are left to mate naturally. Other times they do have contraptions to where they basically artificially inseminate. I refer to it as raping the dog.
Wow. So, Kathy, you've talked a little about puppy mills.
Yes.
You are an anti-puppy mill activist. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yes. I am definitely against puppy mills, and I personally don't understand why people need to be legislated into compassion, because if anybody ever walked into a puppy mill and saw, smelled, and heard what happens inside of a puppy mill, I would think you would not need to be legislated into realizing that something like this is absolutely inhumane and should not be allowed to continue.
Break that down for us. What goes on inside a puppy mill?
Okay, a puppy mill is a large facility, sometimes small. There are also backyard mills where there's not as many dogs, but the dogs are treated just as inhumanely. So I refer to them at a mill as a mill, whether they're large or small. And it's where profit is put over the welfare of the animal. Dogs are kept crowded in crowded cages, too many to a cage that's too small for the dog, usually with wire bottoms, so wastes can fall through, which is less work for the miller to have to clean the dog. There's usually zero vet care. Food, if given, is not a high-quality food. Sometimes the water bowls are found to either be empty or filled with mold. There has been vermin and just so many different medical issues. Puppy millers are also known to perform their own medical procedures, such as C-sections, even eye removals. When an eye is infected, they're not supposed to, but the...
Is it actually illegal to perform veterinary type activities if you don't have a license?
Yes, that is illegal. But unfortunately, the Department of Agriculture, who is responsible for overseeing breeders, the licensed kennels, they're understaffed, and there are just not enough inspectors to properly inspect all of the licensed breeders we have in the state of Illinois. Our inspector is Jake, and he does the best that he can, but he there's just not enough. He needs help to be able to properly and efficiently keep track of all of the breeders in the state of Illinois. Also, what I have found to be a problem is when citations are given out, they are usually given 2 weeks to comply, and then there's a reinspection done. And if they don't comply, there should be repercussions, but most of the time they don't even have the time to go back and do a second inspection because they're just so overworked.
Wow. Now, apart from the treatment of the dogs, is there anything about the genetics of the dogs that come out of puppy mills, or?
Yes. Last year, there were quite a few dogs that died from a pet store that is located in the Illinois and Wisconsin area. And it was mostly due to an outbreak of parvo, but there were also dogs that were dying from massive intestinal parasites, which definitely points to lack of quality care with the breeding parents. And I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
Well, I was asking about the genetics of the puppy mill dogs.
Yes.
Is that something people should be concerned with, apart from the dog being, it sounds like, poorly treated?
Yes. Well, here's the bottom line. There are responsible breeders out there, and I am all for responsible breeding. Me personally, if I was going to get a dog, I would rescue a dog. I would not buy a dog from a breeder, responsible or not, because there's just too many homeless animals that need to be saved. However, people need to realize that if responsible breeders don't continue to properly breed dogs, there are so many thousands of puppy mills breeding literally millions of dogs that the markets are becoming flooded with genetically defective dogs. So without quality breeders out there, quality dogs, purebred dogs as we know it, could possibly cease to exist.
Now, when you say genetically defective dogs, I mean, are you telling me they're just not purebred, or that they have other issues?
Both. The puppy millers...
So they're passed off as purebred, but they're not. So was Katie a puppy mill dog?
Katie, actually, we believe she was. She was found wandering in Beloit. She had cherry eye, which is a very expensive operation and would not be easy for a backyard breeder or a miller to sell. And so she was found wandering with her cherry eye. She was young, and she was chipped, but it was a vacant chip, which is a sign of probably a backyard breeder. But we don't know. We did try to follow up on the chip, but it was never registered to anybody.
Well, she seems to be in good shape and super sweet.
She is. She's a very good girl, and actually, she is my grandson's therapy dog. My grandson has autism spectrum disorder, which is he has difficulty with his sensory processing. And before Katie, we couldn't bring him out into public. He would have a tendency to be overwhelmed. But now, since we've had Katie, we can bring him anywhere as long as Katie's with him.
Well, Katie's super sweet. And for the people who are listening, not watching, Katie is relatively small, not maybe on the large end of a toy dog. And she's gray and white. I might have guessed she were some type of spaniel from her fur and her kind of ears, but super cute.
Thank you.
So are you looking for homes for your foster dogs? Is that what you do?
Right now, out of all of the dogs I have, there are two that are looking for rescue. Their names are Autumn and Oakley. They are a puppy mill rescue, They were a breeding pair, and they are bonded, so we can't separate them.
What kind of dogs are they?
They are purebred Maltese.
Oh.
And they are sweet little dogs. Because of their past life, they aren't quick to be a dog as far as people expect a dog to, wag their tail and come running. When you reach out to them, they put their head down and tend to back away. But with slow progression, a lot of patience, they eventually the walls will come down, and they have opened up to me. And but I do have some mill dogs that haven't, which is why they're still with me. One dog named Rue, she's a purebred Bichon. She's also blind, and I still have her. I also have a dog that came from a hoarding, abusive situation. Her name is Nikki. I had to keep her because she has a tendency, even when people come in my home, I have to put her away until she calms down. Lady came from another abusive situation, and she is a Chinese mix, hairless mix. So depending on their previous life depends on if or when they can be rehabilitated and offered as a companion animal.
Well, that's sweet that you take care of those dogs. So where can people find you on the internet if they want to learn more about you or see what dogs you may have?
Well, I have a Facebook page, Kathy Mehalko.
Great. Why don't you spell that for us?
That's Kathy with a K, Kathy, Mehalko, M as in Mary, EHALKO. Every day on my Facebook page, I post dogs not only from Rockford, but also the surrounding state line area of dogs that are in rescues needing homes. And I am also currently actively canvassing our local politicians. I have been in conference with Joe Cisnowski, John Cabello, Severson, hoping to bring what's known as the companion animal and consumer protection ordinance here to Winnebago County. That is my goal, in addition to finding homes for rescue dogs.
What does that ordinance do, or what would it do?
Right, it's going to be a little more difficult for me here because we don't have home rule, but I'm hoping it to mirror the same law that was brought into effect in Chicago, Illinois, where all pet stores can only sell companion animals that come from approved 501c3 rescues and shelters instead of puppy mills.
All right.
What you had a dog on your Facebook page yesterday, Shorty, I believe his name was. Now, what
Yes.
was his story?
Okay, Shorty, this is my understanding. Shorty was in the Winnebago County Shelter, and they have, from what my understanding, a 0 bite tolerance. So if the dog bites, no matter what reason, they're euthanized.
Okay.
And Shorty was playing and play bit. How severe the bite was, I don't know. All I know is it kind of like involved a play bite. I did speak with the young lady who takes the photographs for the shelter dogs at Winnebago County, and she was just with the dog the previous week, said what a sweet dog he was. And when he saw the camera, he hopped up on the bench and just was like, take my picture. So she was shocked. And there was a rescue willing to take the dog. And Winnebago County would not allow the dog to be released to the rescue. So when I found out about that, I was outraged. And I figured if there was a rescue willing to step up and take this dog, take a chance on this dog as far as working with a trainer, finding out why the dog bit. Maybe it was just because it could even be fear biting. The shelter is a scary place. These dogs, there's sights and smells and sounds that are scary. So without giving the dog a chance in rescue, to just deem the dog should be euthanized, I thought was highly unfair, especially when, personally, I think before the shelter is able to deem a dog to be destroyed, it's left up, it seems, to the opinion of one person. There should be a panel where the dog is assessed by a group of people. It should go to vote. It should not be up to one person whether the dog should be destroyed or not. And that I would like to mention one other thing. Recently, I don't know if you're aware, but I actively campaigned against an SUP against the Hensons, who was trying to start a bulldog breeding facility here in Winnebago County.
SUP, a special use permit?
Yes.
They wanted to use their land, and they needed zoning approval to do
run
what?
They said they wanted to groom, board, and breed dogs. And when I found out about it, I did, in 1 hour, I did a research on this couple, and in 1 hour I found they had a background of animal cruelty, where they were literally charged and fined. And I didn't think that they should be allowed to have the SUP. I put the call out to my people. We banded together. We went to the zoning board committee meetings and to the county board meetings, and successfully blocked the SUP. But what shocked me was the fact that the county board did not have to do due diligence. These people went before the county board, and it's my understanding they didn't even answer the questions themselves when they were interviewed. Their daughter answered the questions. And the county board, after a half an hour of interviewing these people, said, okay, you can have an SUP. I think for something like this, especially when we have a county shelter and our tax dollars are paying for the care and destruction of the dogs that don't make it out of the shelter and the cats that don't make it out of the shelter, our tax dollars are funding this, that our board should have some responsibility to do some investigation before approving things like an SUP that's going to bring more animals into our county.
So what prompted them to deny the use permit, the special use permit? Or is that what happened? I think I remember that.
Yes, it was ultimately denied, and I guess it set a precedence. It's my understanding that once an SUP, because it was already approved, and I think once an SUP is approved, it usually moves forward. That never ever has it been reversed. But it was ultimately denied. We did a lot of research. We provided thick pages of documentation on the background of the Hensons and what they had done in the past, and after reconsideration, and it wasn't, my understanding isn't because of anything we provided per se. It was because they answered, when they were re-interviewed, when they were re-questioned, they had lied initially, and a question they answered no to initially, which was, have you ever been involved in had any animal issues where you were cited for animal problems? And they said no, and the second time they said yes, which I believe that they said that was the basis for the reversal of the decision.
Makes sense. All right.
Oh, and I also, two things. First of all, people need, it's so plain. Responsible breeders put a lot of money into their dogs. They keep meticulous vet records because they breed for the love of the breed, not for the love of money. So they keep meticulous pet records, and they care as much about where their puppies go as we in rescue care, where our puppies go. They do in-home visits. They have contracts. And this is something that the puppy stores don't do. Also, quality breeders, they charge as much as a puppy store does for their dogs. There's no way that a breeder is going to put in thousands of dollars into the care of the parents and the puppy and sell their puppies to a pet store for $50 to $100, where they could make their profits selling their dogs for thousands of dollars. People need to realize this is how the pet stores, they buy their puppies for pennies on the dollar, basically, compared. If they bought from a quality breeder, there's no way they could make money. And this is why the breeders, quality breeders, have absolutely no problem with the ordinance I'm trying to pass. The only people that are going to be hurt by this are the people that shouldn't be breeding in the first place. Secondly, how we as a country, as a community, as a people, can look at these animals that help Americans, help us live normal lives if we have handicaps, fight alongside our servicemen in wars, step up alongside, have literally saved our policemen from bullets, our firemen, help rescue people. How people can allow puppy mills to treat these dogs, who are basically animals that work alongside of us, save us, and help us live a more complete life. Why we have to be legislated into stopping the abuse is totally beyond me.
Now, are there? I'm not looking really for specifics, but this may be an issue that people may not understand. I know. I mean, they understand it, but may not understand that there might be some of these facilities right here in Rockford. Is that true? Or
Yes,
is it?
And there are, unfortunately.
Now, is that aside from like maybe some of the pit bull type of breeding facilities where the fighting dogs?
Yes, we have the fighting dogs.
We know those are there, but these high profit type of organization or operations that you're talking about are right here in Rockford.
Yes, they are, and they are in Belvedere, and right now there's nothing we can do because they're not illegal.
Wow.
All right. Well, Kathy, you have so much passion for the dogs.
I do.
I really appreciate that. And it would be hard to say no to Katie, especially if Katie asked for something.
No.
So
she helps my grandson, and she's a good girl.
That's fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. It was interesting, unfortunate, but interesting to me to learn more about puppy mills.
Well, I'm so grateful for the chance to be a voice for the voiceless. They can't speak for themselves.
Except at 5 a.m. when my dog gets me.
I know that feeling. Yes. Yes.
I have a dog named Frank. He's in my kitchen right now, probably whining, staring up at the box of treats on the
We should bring our dogs on future episodes.
You should. Yeah.
We should. We should. They'd probably, the bad part is people would want the dogs to replace us on the show.
Yeah, my dog does a lot. I mean, he's, going to do my taxes this year. I mean, it's a pretty amazing basset hound that he is.
All right. So we will put in the show notes the link to your Facebook page. Best place to find you. Thanks so much, Kathy Mehalko.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
And we're back from the break. We're happy to welcome Becky Baux. That's B-A-U-X for those of you researching this on the internet. We'll put that in the show notes. Becky, welcome.
Thank you.
So I see you are wearing a sweatshirt that tells us that you would like to make the Winnebago County Animal Shelter no-kill.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes.
What I remember not quite a year ago, maybe, this was a big topic of discussion.
Yes.
And what happened with all that?
We started in December of 2015, and we started by meeting with the chairman, the Winnebago County Board chairman, and the director of the shelter. A meeting with just those two, just suggesting TNR, for example, a trap, neuter, return program for our cats, for our feral cats.
Now, return. What is return? So I understand trap. I understand neuter. What is return?
Yeah, some people will say release. It's where they are returned to their colonies in the wild.
Okay.
We have 25,000 feral cats in our community currently.
Now, I know some people are concerned with feral cats killing birds. I guess I view that as part of nature.
What is better? I mean, that's going to happen. Dogs are going to kill. That's going to happen. But do we turn around and kill our feral cats because they kill birds?
Yeah. See, I view that as a natural order.
Yes. Yes.
So, okay. All right.
Yes. So we promote the TNR. There's a woman in Belvedere that does that pretty much out of her own funding, Karen Gatke. And she's pretty much an expert in it. She targets the female cats because funds are limited. And of course, if you if you spay the female cats, you're not going to have a problem. But we just suggested to them that they start a TNR program, and they weren't interested in a TNR program. The feral cats that they get into the shelter are immediately euthanized.
Their logic for that is what?
Well, they gave me a couple reasons. One reason was the fear of rabies, which I dispelled. I told them that if they did research, they would see that there hasn't been a case of rabies in Illinois with cats for over 100 years.
Really?
Really. And if there is a case, a rabies case, it's going to be a domestic cat that bites you, not a feral cat, because feral cats are afraid of people. So that was, I showed them the facts there. Plus, they provide funding to another rescue in the area that does do TNRing. And I said to them, how can you provide funding for TNRing to a rescue in the area when, on the other hand, you're saying the cats that enter your shelter need to be euthanized because of fear of rabies? These are cats out of the same community. You have to treat them the same. But they weren't interested. That is one of the points, one of Nathan Winograd's 11-step solution, no-kill resolution. And I went through the 11 steps with them. He's a man that started no-kill. There's hundreds of shelters throughout the United States that are no-kill now. There is a common misconception that it costs money. We showed them where it does not cost money. In fact,
How does it not cost money? This is to me is like, because I have a big heart for animals. I think I have probably a bigger heart for animals than people. Most people would tell you that. Yeah. I'm sure.
Can't stand.
So I really am troubled at the notion of euthanizing animals. But then again, I look and say, well, we've got people starving in the county, people homeless in the county. What do? You only have so much money. What's the magic money on this, or the magic of the money? How does this work?
Okay. It's not about housing animals in our shelter. It's not about increasing the size of our shelter. It's about moving the animals through the shelter. It's about a lot of hard work. I've talked to the no-kill shelters throughout the United States, and they've all been very helpful. They'll spend an hour on the phone with me at one time.
Now, are these public shelters, or are they private?
They're all
shelters?
The ones I've talked to are community shelters like ours.
So they're government funded.
Yes.
The local county or township, or
they
depending
aren't
on where you are.
because there's thousands of private no-kill rescues.
Oh, so you didn't even see the point in talking to them, because everybody who wants to do that just does it.
Right.
So you were dialed in on the people who have kind of government funded shelters.
Right.
That
Similar
do this.
to Winnebago County, because that's what they want to see. They want to see
that makes
stats.
sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've talked to them all over the country. Even one shelter manager, he gets on the internet every morning, and he goes through Pet Finder. And he contacts, this is him personally, he'll contact shelters throughout the country, get on the phone, call them, see if they have space, and there's transfers available for free throughout the United States, where you can, put a dog in a car, and, the first leg is taken by somebody, and it's transferred all the way to wherever, California, Florida, wherever. So that's, so you just do whatever you can to move the dogs through the system. You work closely with the rescues, which we have some excellent rescues in the area. I fostered for North Suburban out of Downers Grove. This is just one example of their inability to do what is needed to save lives.
They being the Winnebago County Animal Shelter?
County.
Okay.
I set them up with a partnership with West Suburban. We saved 2 dogs right away. They have a page where rescues can pull from, and there were 2 cases: a little beagle with heartworm, which is expensive to treat, and then another dog that needed a leg amputated. So I transported those up to Winnebago County, to West Suburban from Winnebago County, and they found loving homes. They did the nest. The beagle, turned out he didn't have heartworm. They did a wrong diagnosis on him, but they both found loving homes. That was a year ago, at least a year ago. And to my knowledge, they have not worked with them again. It's a wonderful shelter in Downers Grove. When we had a no-kill educational meeting for the community, and there were several members in the audience, 2 or 3, that had sanctuaries. One woman had a sanctuary, another one had a farm. They were other options for Winnebago County. And I asked them, have you ever been approached by Winnebago County? No, they hadn't. So there's a lot of resources out there. It's like they're pigeonholed into they've been doing something for 20 years, longer than 20 years, but the current director's been there 20 years. And they don't seem to want to have the ability to think outside the box, as you say, or even just, it's not even thinking outside the box as much as it is just common sense and wanting to save lives and doing what is necessary. I asked them with the feral cat community. I've asked them to just take baby steps. The 11 steps, you don't have to do all those at once. Just take baby steps. Just do one thing. But I should get back to the funding. Because I'm going off into another tangent. But there was one lady in our group that did a report for them on funding that's available for no-kill shelters, grants that are available. There's so many grants available when a shelter makes a commitment to go no-kill. And she did this lengthy report for them, $25,000. Some organizations will offer you just to make that commitment to go no-kill. And obviously, if you go no-kill, you're going to get more. You're going to get more volunteers because people don't want to volunteer in a kill shelter. Their turnover is not good there. They have a high rate of turnover because people don't want to work in a shelter that kills animals. So they save money there with lower turnover. And the fact is, I FOIA'd so much information from them, and most of my FOIAs were refused. But I asked...
Refused on what basis?
The first 26, they said, were in the wrong format.
The first 26, wow. All right,
Yeah,
you sent some FOIAs.
Christy Nix had followed me out there to the shelter, and when I handed in my first 26 FOIAs, and they were all refused. But then 2 days later, the assistant state's attorney sends me an email with the annual report, which that's the main thing we were asking for, because so many people in our community don't know that they're a kill shelter. They relinquish their pets there, thinking they're going to find a good home, like the Olds brothers. I don't know if you're familiar with their case.
I saw that, just kind of doing my diligence on you, maybe. I found that, that they relinquished 2 pit bulls there. Am I thinking right?
Yes.
And they didn't realize that the dogs essentially would be euthanized.
Exactly, yeah. It's worse than that even. They were told by the... she's no longer there, but they were told by the woman that they talked to that they're doing the right thing, bring them in, and we'll find homes for them, we'll temp test them, and then we'll put them on the adoption floor. The next day at noon, they were euthanized. 2 young, purebred pit bull girls, loving animals. Their owners were losing their home. They had full confidence that their girls would find another loving home.
Yeah, let's say a couple of things about this, just to give some context of the story. The brothers had to move back in with their mother, and the mother's townhome or condo or whatever didn't allow pets. So that was the circumstance of them taking them in. And the pit bulls, I mean, people don't realize this. I mean, pit bulls they have a media problem, basically. Pit bulls need a lobbyist, but or some type of marketing representative. But that aside, I mean, pit bulls can be worth big money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so when you say they were purebred pit bulls, they were, I mean, not that value defines whether or not something should be a dog should be euthanized, but I mean, this was, something that, I mean, they probably ascribed some value, not just emotional, but arguably these dogs had some monetary value.
They weren't stray dogs found,
Right.
suffering from some sort of lack of nutrition, wandering around the west side.
And not that I want to diminish that either.
Well, but
Right.
exactly.
Those
I mean,
dogs,
these
but-
were somebody's pet, and I've heard stories like that. Now, where does that culture come from? Because what you're describing to me are alleged, lies that are being told to people coming
Yeah.
out. I mean,
Yeah, that's one thing I ask them to do, to at least be truthful when an owner surrender comes into the shelter, to give them the stats, because owner surrenders are the first to be killed.
Really?
They aren't strays. They aren't required by law. I believe there's a 7-day holding period now. They can change that, but I believe it's a 7-day holding period. So strays even get 7 days. But
under the logic that somebody may come looking for them, some owner
Right,
that they
right,
dog
right,
has run away
right,
from may
right.
come looking. All right.
yeah, and the girls were the gentleman paid over $900 for each one of the girls. Not that I don't put, like you said, I don't put any value on a pet's life by the purebred or the cost of the animal, because no kill is all about any animal that is healthy and any animal that is treatable, either medically or behaviorally. We don't kill. We should not kill. We do kill, but we should not kill. We use it as a means for animal control. In our county, and I believe they have 7 surrounding areas, have stood by and let this happen for years and years and years.
So, what was the logic of the Winnebago County Animal Shelter in euthanizing the dogs?
They don't answer to us. They don't tell us. That was another for you. What dogs have been euthanized? Was your shelter full? How many calls did you make to rescues? They didn't make one call.
do you believe that, let's say, Caleb brought in 2-year-old golden labs, let's say, very docile animals? Do you think they would have stood a better chance than these 2 pit bulls stood?
Mm-hmm.
So you think there's almost a speciesism going on?
Caleb loves golden labs, by the way.
I do.
Well, they're more adoptable.
Okay.
They're more.
So somebody's
adoptable.
making a determination as to who's adoptable, who's not. They
Yes.
kind of a quantitative
Yes.
assessment on their part.
There's a big bias in it, right? I mean,
Yeah, but if you go into the shelter, what do you see?
I see a lot of pit bulls.
Yeah, you see pit bulls.
And I actually tried to adopt a pit bull, I would say, like 12 years ago. And there was a while where they told me they weren't adopting them, period. Especially the strays. But I don't know. I don't think that's a policy anymore. But I think, yes, pit bulls do have a media problem. It's a stigma attached
James,
to
I
it,
think
so-
I found a gig for you.
What?
Kind of a sideline.
Rapping?
No.
What?
Pitbull. No, you can be the Pitbull media representative.
Oh, sure.
You can help enhance the Pitbull media image.
I could.
That's a good
I could.
sideline for you.
Yeah. Just don't have me start adopting these things. We can put them down here in a large space.
We do have a large space in the studio. That's
We
true.
definitely do need help for our pit bulls. I know, like Mending Hearts Rescue, they're an excellent rescue in our area. They will pull pit bulls, and they will foster them, and there's trainers available for pit bulls. If they have had behavioral issues. I'm not even in a no-kill shelter. You still have to euthanize. Now we're using euthanize very freely tonight, but I don't say what the shelter is doing is euthanizing, because in most cases they're killing. Euthanizing was meant for a humane way to put animals down when they were gravely ill. There was no hope for recovery, or animals whose behavior, like pit bulls that have been bred to fight, for instance, that a behavioralist, there's just no hope left for that dog. They're too far gone. That's what euthanizing was meant for. And you'll hear the argument from board members. They'll say, well, our state ordinance, the laws prevent us from it prevents us from not euthanizing our animals. Well, Letty Van Cavich, a prominent animal rights attorney, we got her involved. She wrote a letter to them, and she said, you're grossly misinterpreting the law. No other county in the state has misinterpreted the law like you are.
So is that just in terms of pit bulls, or
No,
euthanizing
it was,
in general?
the law states it's very similar to if you cannot find a home for an animal, then it will be euthanized.
Okay.
Then you shall euthanize. I think that's the wording. But that law was meant to protect the animals from medical facilities that may come in and want to take them and experiment with them, from torturing animals. You know, it was meant for the animals' benefit to give them an end of their life peacefully rather than to go in an undesirable place.
Sure.
There's just so much there's just so much information. We've met before the board. We've met before the Public Safety Committee. The 3 minutes that you get before the board 3 times a year, the Public Safety Committee, I worked for 2 weeks, and I finally got 30 minutes with them. I presented every issue that they have at the shelter with at least one solution. They took notes. They said they would review them. Nothing has changed in the last year. In fact, things have gotten worse. We just got our stats the stats are always a month behind. We do have to ask my county board member, Steve Schultz. I thank him for doing this. He gets the report for me every month. We just got November's report. In November, the euthanasia, the kill rate. I call it a kill rate because that's what it is in most cases. For dogs, it was 18%. For cats, it was 68%.
Wow. Now, what are those absolute numbers? I mean, how many? 18%, because we don't know what the total number is. So.
Right. They're on my Facebook page, No Kill WCAS, if you want to see the exact numbers. But they're approximately, the dogs, 30 dogs, I believe, were killed. And that's what I had my notes for. I had the exact.
Sure, that's okay.
But every year in 2015, we haven't gotten the annual report for 2016 yet. But in 2015, the overall kill rate was 48%. About 3,000 animals were killed.
Why are cats so much higher than dogs?
Cats they're just like, you know, there are so many cats. There are just so many cats, and we need facilities here in Rockford to house our cats. Now there we do need, because they are hard to place because there's so many of them. And like the treehouse, another excellent example that we have in Chicago. They're building a $7 million home for their cats. They started out with an old house, which Rockford has plenty of. You know, I so wish somebody that had money in Rockford would step up for the animals and donate a couple of those old houses. An old house can house 300 cats with, you know, in small little colonies. Mm-hmm. Because that's, you know, a large problem is, and then like I had mentioned, the ferals, they don't even get a chance. If you're a tabby, if you're a regular looking cat, if you're an older cat, if you're sick, you don't get a chance. Also with their cats, there's just so much information. With the cats, they get 3 strikes, 3 upper respiratory conditions, and they're taken to the euthanasia room. Dogs are still doing the old-fashioned temp testing that nobody does anymore. If a shelter does do it, they do it for one reason, and that's to put a tag on the animal's cage that may say this dog is food protecting of his food. You know, that's the only reason it's used. It's not used to put dogs down, but our shelter uses it to put dogs down. There's 3 tests. One test is the rubber hand that you've probably heard of that pokes their food bowl. If they don't like that, they get killed. The other test is a pinch test. If they pinch the dog and the dog doesn't like it, it gets killed. And the last test is a temperament test where they introduce the dog who's just been brought into the shelter, a cold, cement, noisy, unfriendly environment that they're not used to. They bring a dog from the adoption floor to meet the dog. If the dog isn't receptive to the dog, it's killed. We've begged them to please stop that.
No.
Yeah, wow, I think I'd probably be killed. I don't think I'd withstand.
Most
Probably,
of our dogs,
certainly not all 3 tests.
You don't
Probably
like to
not
be,
any
He
one of
doesn't
them.
like to be pinched.
I don't like to be pinched. I don't like my food jacked
Oh, yeah.
with, and I don't probably get along with most people. So if they brought a person out to meet me, then they'd take me out right away.
I was going to ask. Now, I don't want to open up any accusations towards our shelter here, but typically in county-run, state-run shelters, folks that are performing these tests on dogs, what kind of education or training do they have? Are these like educated people? Do they have certificates in certain types of programs, or are they just people you hire off the streets? You train them a little bit, and you tell them to go and do these behavioral type of tests with dogs.
I don't.
Animals.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the director. I do believe that she has a college degree in the animal services area. I just believe I.
No,
I
she's
saw that.
probably an administrator, probably not the one doing the rubber hand testing for the most part, right? Or
She'll be one that may be present during
Okay.
the adoption coordinator. Is there? There are certain people that have to be present while the techs administer the tests. What I do know is no animal behavioralists are administering the test. No licensed animal behavioralist is administering
which is a
the
real
test.
thing, by the way.
Yes. Like Miss Christie, she's well known in our area, and she works some with the shelter. But one thing I did want to mention to get back to the costing, besides all the grants that are available, I almost got there before, but then I got sidetracked. But one thing is adoptions are very, they're revenue positive. When you adopt an animal out, it's revenue positive. I have asked what their euthanasia and disposal cost is. I haven't received answers to anything. All I've received.
How is that math so hard? What are they saying? Why can't they explain that?
It has to go through a FOIA, and they've all been turned down. Like I said, the first
turned down on what basis? What basis are those being turned down on?
Some are, well, like I said, that first batch was because it was the improper format. On every FOIA, I had at least probably 5 issues, and I had 26 FOIAs then. But others have been denied because, well, I've asked, like the euthanasia, the ones that are killed, what breeds, what ages, what sexes, why was the shelter full, all that, and they'll say, we may be able to, they don't say we may be able to provide that information, but they said if we were able to provide that information, it would cost you thousands of dollars because you get charged after so many pages. And I personally don't have the funds for that, although I'd love to have that information. But they didn't even say for sure that by law they had to give me that information. If anything's cumbersome, there's a question there. But we just want to know the facts. We want to know what's happening, like pit bulls. I wanted to know the areas that they were coming from because there's agencies that go door to door in areas where people need help, like where pit bulls are being bred and they need help. They may be receptive to spay and neuter, but they don't have the money.
Have you appealed or gone to I think they call it an ombudsman now, but somebody at the Attorney General's office that you can kind of appeal the rejection of a FOIA or denial of a FOIA response? Have you gone that route?
No.
We should talk about that because, we all may have different politics about things, but at the end of the day, I'm consistently a fan of information being public when it's
Yes, and that's
public
what
entity.
So you're the bulldog or the pit bull, not me.
Now I'm being the pit bull.
It's so important to just like people not knowing that the shelter was a kill shelter. The education is so important, and we had billboards up for months, but then the fund, just people donating. But we got a great deal from Thor Advertising where we put up one billboard I just reviewed the other day because our cats. In 1 month, in the month of November, more cats were killed in November of 2016 that were killed in 3 months of 2015. And we had a billboard up that said, so many cats were killed in 90 days. And people were, totally disgusted with that. Well, November of 2016, those 3 months of cats, we've killed more cats in 1 month than we did back then.
But how many animals do you think that we could save if the county shelter went to a no-kill policy?
Well, still,
And where would those animals end up. I know you're talking about a system to kind of move them wherever they need to be, and volunteers helping out. But what if that doesn't take any, doesn't gain any traction? Could we see the county just overflowing with stray dogs and cats?
It shouldn't be, because if you look at the hundreds of shelters that are no kill, they had asked me for an exact shelter with the population like ours, with the intake like ours. Took me 2 weeks to find one, but I found it, Salt Lake City. They're very successful, and their shelters are not overrun with animals. It's just a mindset where you. I would imagine that you don't go home at night, just like a lot of our professions. You don't go home at night and just turn on the TV. You still are working for the animals. You're just doing whatever you can to try to find homes for them. But there are, okay, I applied to be a foster for Winnebago County, and I applied to work with the dogs, to help train the dogs at Winnebago County. I went to the initiation. I didn't get a call. I didn't get one call to foster. I fostered for 10 years in Wisconsin, and I fostered down here for a couple different rescues, but I didn't get a call to foster.
Now, is this before or after you raised all this ruckus about no kill?
I was just going to say, this was before.
Okay. All right.
This was before, because my first step was to meet with the management. As I stated, my second step was to volunteer. I didn't want to volunteer to kill shelter, but I thought after my meeting, I'm gonna go do this and see how it goes. So it was before the no kill. But you do have to put on there on your form what you think of the euthanasia policy. What is your opinion on euthanasia? And I said at that time, it shouldn't be a means of animal control. It should only be in roughly 10% of animals still. To answer your question, also. They still will be put down for reasons of health or behavior. Some shelters reach a 1% kill rate. I mean, they do wonderful, but it all depends on your intake too. If you're a community like we are, where you have a lot of pit bulls, a lot of feral cats, it depends on your intake, but you have to, there are so many success stories. If you talk with the hundreds of shelters throughout the country, they, I've suggested they take the room as you walk into the shelter. If they are euthanizing for space, which the director told me they do not. But then later on, she told me that one morning she did walk in there, and there were animals in the front lobby, and they did euthanize for space. And I said, why didn't you take the room where the orientation takes place? There's long tables in there and chairs. And I said, take that room, put cages in it. That'll house a lot of animals. You stack them up. Shelters have done that. They've used their lobby. They've gone out and gotten old RVs, old trailers. I mean, there are just so many. It's just unlimited. The things you could do if you think outside the box, and your goal is to save animals. And then, I still didn't get to the cost, but to euthanize an animal and dispose of is approximately $150. So that's another thing when owners will, even a responsible pet owner can lose their dog. And when they go to get their dog, some can't afford the fees that are added to the, to house they charge to pick up your dog, to care for your dog at the shelter until you get there. Hundreds of dollars sometimes. If you can't afford it, your dog, they have the option to put the dog down rather than give it to the owner. And that's another point I said to them, why are there fees at all? We're already paying for the animal control officers out of our taxes. We're already paying for the facility out of our taxes. And I said, but if you still feel the need to charge, why don't you, payment plans or community service, have them volunteer at the shelter. There are so many options. But instead you kill their dog because they don't have a couple $100 to get their dog back. And, I've suggested so much. No Kill Janesville is another excellent resource. They actually have an animal intake counselor for owner surrenders. If you're an owner and you need to surrender you're thinking about surrendering your animal, you have to call and make an appointment, and you talk with a counselor who sits with you and tries to do everything they can so that you can keep your animal. If you need help, there are pet food pantries in the area, and we actually had one, but it's no longer. But there are pet food pantries. There's behavioralists. I mean, there is help out there. There's some vets that may help. So we asked, just please, that's the baby step I asked when I left the Public Safety Committee meeting. I said, if you do nothing else, just please have the person that talks to these owner surrenders to give them the facts before they turn their animal over to the shelter thinking they're going to find a loving home. Give them the facts. Tell them how many owner surrenders are put down. And I said, and I would volunteer my time. I'm a retired programmer analyst. I'll volunteer 20 hours a week as a counselor for owner surrenders. Because we need to stop those animals, the loving homes that want to keep their dogs, but they can't. They can't afford it. The dog may have a broken leg. They can't afford to have it taken care of. We may be able to get funding for them. And it may be cheaper than euthanizing that dog. So, but not even a baby step has been taken.
All right. Becky, again, where can we find you online?
On Facebook, No Kill WCAS. And we'd love for what we're asking, what we want people to do is to join our cause. You can go to WinCoil and write to your county board member. Go to the meetings. They're the second and fourth. They can be found on WinCoil also.
Right.
But they're the second and fourth Tuesdays, I believe, of the month. At 6:00, and you can talk for 3 minutes. You have to fill out an application before noon that day, and you can talk on behalf of the animals. You have to show that the community is behind this no kill and that we're not going to tolerate this anymore. And that's one way to do it. Talk before the county board. Take 3 minutes and talk before them. Tell them that this is unacceptable, the killing of 3,000 animals a year. And then write to your county board members, write to the chairman, write to Jennifer Stacy, the director. Just make a noise. Volunteer at the shelter if you can. Volunteer for a rescue to foster. Just get involved in some way. Way too many people want this, but they don't want to do any of the work. They want other people to do it, but it's going to take more than 30 of us, 40 of us to accomplish this.
All right. Well, hopefully people hear your voice when you say that. Thanks so much, Becky Baux.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we're back from the break. So that was interesting. Lots of puppy and cat activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have visions of just streets filled with feral animals. If we go to this no-kill, I mean, aren't
Why?
there? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think so.
She
No,
said
they'll be
there's-
neutered.
Well, and there's other cities that have done it, right? And
I don't know.
those cities.
No,
don't have it.
I don't want animals to be senselessly killed if that's what's going on.
All
in
right.
these-
Well, you're
these
going to need to
places.
scrounge around on this some more.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Scrounge.
So let's pick it up. A full week of crime. We've got
Full
Tuesday
week of
afternoon.
crime.
Yeah.
It's just like the
Let's-
weather in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Changes every 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, now the crime is constant, I'm afraid.
Well, I mean, different types
So,
of crime. Maybe it's,
We'll start at the beginning roughly. Friday last week, Simply Mac, 2 guys
Sure.
arrested, 2 guys still at large for robbing the Simply
I think they
Mac
caught
by
one
Cherryvale.
of the 2 at-large guys today.
Oh, did they?
I
All
believe
right.
so.
All
And
right.
they let one of them go though too, didn't they?
They let one of the original catchers go.
Oh, I don't know.
I saw that. I forget who reported
On
on
the-
it, but
The Register Star had something on it. I got an email on my when I was walking over here. I noticed I had an email on it from somebody.
So
That there's federal charges.
yeah. So these guys took $80,000 worth of stuff from Simply Mac, jumped on the highway, and went back towards Chicago. Right?
And they crashed a Jeep over by Elgin, Barrington Road over there.
or their tire blew, didn't it?
Blew a tire, 100 miles an hour. Those Jeeps fly.
Yeah, apparently. Monday, woman injured in armed robbery attempt.
Which one was this?
Yeah, Rockford Advocate told me about this. Yeah, I know. There were so many this week, it's hard to keep track
One
of.
last night was what day was that? Monday.
Monday.
I think this is the one where a girl and her boyfriend were coming back from a grocery store or something like this. A lot of these robberies now are happening right around 5 o'clock, drive time, evening drive time. Pulling into their house, started walking into the house. Female victim says, I have to go get something in the car. Boyfriend goes in the house. She gets robbed outside. She starts screaming. Guy's grabbing her purse, and the husband comes outside and scares the guy off. And she gets hit in the head, I think, and cut. So that was that one, I believe.
That sounds right. Tuesday morning, 2 arrested for shots fired, and they fled into Alpine Park.
Yeah, that was.
And then into the surrounding neighborhood.
That was. I think that was it started as a car chase or something like that. There was a standoff, perimeter. A bunch of roads were blocked over there. I believe the standoff happened when one of the gunmen fled into a neighborhood and went into somebody's house and holed up there for a while.
Yeah, on Sequoia, specifically.
I used to live over that neighborhood.
Monday into Tuesday overnight, so I think very early Tuesday morning, there was an attempted robbery at Caleb's favorite place,
That's
the Bigfoot Lounge.
oh, the Bigfoot.
Now, what type of place is that? I don't know
Well,
anything about Bigfoot.
didn't I?
They advertise it as a
It's a gentleman's.
club.
Yeah. So it's
Now,
a
what goes
gentlemanly.
on? So, like, you do gentlemanly
you go in there to
things.
get your shoes
You pull out
shined.
chairs for ladies, and
Yes.
you open doors for
You
ladies. and
sip on scotch and
You get your
smoke
shoes shined. You
cigars
get your
and
shoes
look nice.
shined.
Okay.
It's just like the downtown shave club type of place. They cater to men there. No, it's not like
I
that.
don't think this.
I don't think
boy.
Dave is going to like that.
Oh,
is
boy,
he?
there's our first sponsor read right there.
Okay. Actually, we're supposed to have
Haggerty.
his picture up.
We will. And we'll deal
And
with it.
my apologies
So,
to Dave Armstrong.
poor
for,
Dave Armstrong. Yes,
for
we took his picture.
likening his establishment to a gentleman's club.
Yes. Well,
But no,
we'll tell people what they really do later.
We
but
will.
Yeah.
But no, Bigfoot, and Caleb is right. It's a gentleman's club. Have you ever been there?
I can't say.
Really? I have been there. Not in.
Caleb's not sure if he's ever been there.
I can't say.
That's what
Matter
I
of
take
fact,
from that
I
answer.
went
He
on
doesn't know.
I went on a date with a girl about 10 or 12 years ago. I don't know when it was, but
What?
actually,
And then you wouldn't.
A
actually,
lady who
you
worked
went
there?
on-
Or,
no, it
or
really,
you
actually,
took
really
the
wasn't a
lady there?
date. Well, that was a date. This
You
girl
said, "Hey, I've got a great place to take you on a date."
Well, the girl said, "Hey, we need to stop by Bigfoot," because I knew her sister was an exotic dancer.
Stuff never
So
happens
so
to me.
so we showed up at Bigfoot and get there, sit down, and it's not a gross place or anything like that. I mean, Rockford has that ordinance where girls do not get naked. I mean, it's a girls in Rockford, according to the state, or excuse
Are
me,
naked girls gross, Haggerty?
well, not gross, but it's not a house of ill repute. And
Okay.
so there are, as fancy as it can be in that industry, some nicer gentlemen's clubs out there. So we get there, and it's a normal place. And this was in the afternoon. We were going there because her sister worked there, and we went in and sat down. I think I had a sandwich or something like that. But her sister came out of
I
the.
was troubled at the notion of eating at a place where those sorts of things
It's a
go
gentleman's club.
on. Well,
I'm
just
a
troubled.
gentleman, and I was
I'm just
treated
troubled.
very, very well.
I agree with you, Jeff.
I'm
But no,
just
it was
agree.
just a little
But-
odd for me to sit there with this girl who I was kind of dating at the time and have her sister come out in full attire or lack thereof.
So who was better looking?
I don't know. I couldn't say. She might recognize who I'm talking about.
Oh,
they're both
boy.
very, very,
All
very pretty
right,
ladies.
all
They're both
right,
married now
all
with
right.
families and
That's
stuff.
enough of
So
that.
this is not.
So then Tuesday night, car-to-car shooting at Crosby and Smith. So that's a couple of blocks northeast of Swedes.
Now that's the one. One car. Well, they crashed. One car bumped into a tree and was rendered inoperable, and everybody ran. And then they found in the vicinity someone was hit with a bullet, stray bullet, innocent bystander standing there.
All
Is that the
right.
one?
I don't know.
Actually, no.
There's so many I can't keep them all
go
straight.
down
I
because-
thought this was a car chased another car
Yeah.
and shot at.
Well, the
car that was
that's
being
the one
pursued.
before that. I mean, it's out of hand.
Not to
in
be
this
confused
town.
with Tuesday afternoon. Woman followed from ATM home and then robbed near State and Fairview.
Yes, and it was the suspect followed the woman with the suspect vehicle had its lights off, and told the woman, "Give me all of the money," indicating that the man watched her withdraw funds from the ATM. And this happened again right in her driveway. So it cost $11 for a FOID card. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
And Brian Ligero is a concealed carry instructor.
okay. Well, he did mention that. We'll
Yeah,
ask
well,
him
I'm
about
just
that
saying.
next time he's on.
I think it's time for people to protect themselves.
To start concealing and carrying.
It's an
and
option.
shooting.
It's legal.
Shooting.
I don't know about shooting, but it's legal.
All right. 2 words, Blue Thunder. Next
You
week.
got it?
Next week. In fact, I do.
Do
I
we pay
didn't
the-
fire up the TV tonight, but in fact, I ordered the DVD, the movie. I'm going to watch it. That way I'll be prepared when we have Chief O'Shea and Sheriff Caruana on. I'll have good police type questions like, about using helicopters like
So,
Blue Thunder to catch
Are you
criminals.
using our hard-earned revenue to pay copyright fees to use
No,
these?
we're not going to show Blue Thunder. We might put a Blue Thunder graphic up. But what I forgot was that Blue Thunder had a TV series on ABC, I think it was, after the movie. And
Really?
yeah,
That must have been in
the
the
guy,
70s.
Jaffo, just a F something observer, the kind of co-pilot who was supposed to be the voice of reason on this thing, on the TV series was played by Dana Carvey. I completely forgot that.
Wow. Dana
Yeah.
Carvey, the tough guy that he is.
Yeah, tell me about. But no, but
I was
that's
just
kind of the
remem-
nature of the beast. Because in the movie, that guy, the equivalent guy, got killed by the bad guys.
Dana
Malcolm
Carvey.
McDowell, I think, was a bad guy.
Roddy McDowell?
No, Malcolm.
Oh, all right.
Not to be confused. Yeah. So, Caleb, do you have a date?
No.
Something.
Okay,
You got something.
Caleb's got something. I don't know. His phone's
I was by the burn.
So
Were you?
we will
Didn't
have
see you.
updates. We will have updates.
that
Blue
Burley-
Thunder. We will be all schooled in Blue Thunder before the chief and the sheriff come, so that I know all about urban policing.
Now, we have to make sure, I have to make sure that I'm not branded as a gun nut when those guys come on.
A
But-
gun
but
nut.
I-
I'm
but
the
I-
one that wants an attack helicopter. I mean,
Well.
how could you next to me? How could you possibly be the gun nut?
All I know is that the city is out of control. So what
Yeah,
else
it is out of control from that list, and all of those. You can get the details on all of those at rockfordadvocate.com. I'm glad to report that you're reporting on them, but sad to report that they are there to report
And
on.
it's taking up a lot of my time.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep track of all that. It was onerous for me to even go through all of them, to compile them for the show notes. And on that happy note, this is a good time to talk about me.
But you're growing
Me?
a beard?
Yeah, have you noticed?
Yeah.
I'm growing it out a little.
Yeah, during
So-
the dog segment, I was trying to,
Do you think I look like a wolf man?
well, I was trying a bit very hard
Well,
to keep from looking over
Katie, Katie and me, who had more hair. So, yeah. But, yeah.
I'm willing to bet, though, that it was darker at another time of your life.
Yeah, it's getting a
your
little silvery
facial hair.
now. But whatever the case, I
It's-
know
it's
where
a
I can
good-
get it cleaned up.
Yeah, where's that?
Downtown Barber's Shave Club.
I was down there today. Stewart
I
Square.
saw photographic evidence of that. We'll share that next week.
We will.
Stewart Square, that's 115 South Main.
Dave and Isaac, very good guys.
Yeah.
Very
And there's
successful.
actually, he's got a pretty big crew there. I didn't
does.
realize he had so many people cutting and shaving.
There's 3 or
there.
4 chairs, but all of them were filled. All but one. All but Dave's chair was filled
Nice.
this afternoon. And it was, about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I
So-
had some business down at the courthouse.
Well, I'm scheduled for Friday. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Caleb, are you scheduled?
I'm not scheduled with Downtown Barber's Shave Club, unfortunately. I go to a different barber.
No. So I'll come back with a full report next
Caleb's under
week.
contract with another barber.
Yeah,
What happens?
he is.
It happens.
He's under contract. But yeah, so I'll be back next week. I'll report on Downtown Barber Shave Club. Dave Armstrong was nice enough to join us for the first episode of this
Yes.
whole fiasco. So I thought the least we could do is possibly let people know what he's doing. But 115 South Main, Rockford.
Yes.
Do you know what they're doing there, James?
Do I know what they're doing there besides shaving men's faces
They are, and cutting their hair.
and cutting their hair?
They are, more precisely,
A barber.
bringing back the art of the shave and cut.
Oh, okay. Yes, they are. Is that their slogan?
It appears to be.
It's very nice. Well,
I like it.
It is exactly what they're doing. Eloquently, more eloquently.
bringing it back.
said than I could
They're bringing it back.
probably present it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And I think they have the straight razor there, where you sharpen the blade on the strap.
Yeah, nobody better follow Dave Armstrong home.
No, he can wield it.
Yeah. I'm guessing so. So
I don't have to tell him about a Foyt or anything like that.
yeah,
He's
no,
Chuck
he's got a
Norris.
straight racer.
Yeah.
And as we all know, was it who carried one?
Buford Puzzle.
Jim or Slim in the Jim Croce song? Didn't
geez.
somebody carry a straight razor? Maybe I'm adding
Leroy
facts.
Brown did.
Yeah, did Leroy Brown carry a straight razor?
Who I
right?
knew, by the way. He was a real guy. He died.
That's right, Leroy Brown. It wasn't Jim or Slim of the other very similar song.
No,
You're right.
no.
It was Leroy Brown.
Leroy Brown, who was a real man, real guy in Chicago. Hung out at all the blues bars and sang at open mic nights.
Did you buy him a drink?
I think I did once, yes. Everybody wanted to take pictures with this guy. He drove an old Camaro. He ended up getting cancer a couple years ago and died, but yeah. Leroy Brown. Of
Wow.
the Jim Croce song. What was really in the Army with Jim Croce.
Nice.
That's where the song came
He
from.
carried a straight razor.
I don't know about that, but
Well, that's
a lot
what
of
the song says. I
women
think.
liked him, just like the song.
Nice.
They called him a treetop lover.
That is what the song tells us, yes. Back to Rockford. So, Longwood Gardens, TIF loan extended.
Beautiful, isn't it? Zion Development, you know.
I can't even picture it. I drive by it probably daily. I can't picture this. It's at 7th and State.
Right across from Wendy's. Or from McDonald's, the Circle K. It used to be,
Oh,
it
the
used to be
thing,
Holiday
the
Inn.
thing next to Walgreens?
No, not that far up. It's
Right
literally
across from
right across from not Wendy's. It's right
Circle
across
K,
from-
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right there before you take a right to go to Midtown.
I am so busy watching that
You still
goofy
can't
intersection
figure it.
on the north side. I don't even know what's on the south
So-
side of that road.
you don't.
No, I have no idea. If you showed me 3 buildings,
It
if you
used
put
to
3
be-
buildings, if I made the TV work right now with the magic of the interwebs, and you put up pictures of 3 different buildings,
Right.
I seriously doubt, if you removed the context, if you narrowly cropped the pictures, that I could pick out which of those buildings is Longwood Gardens.
But could you picture driving east from downtown on East State Street?
Is it next to U.S. Bank?
No.
It's
Almost.
on the other side of the street.
Well,
Yeah.
you know where to turn
It'd be
into
on
the
west-
old... The what?
It'd be on the west side of the street.
No, it'd be on the south side. But
Yeah.
it's Old Holiday Inn that's right across from the entrance of the old Victorian Village.
See, okay, it probably was not a Holiday Inn since I've lived here.
Well, no, it was...
But regardless of that,
It was a Holiday Inn in the 80s.
the late 80s?
It looks like a hotel.
And
looks
then
like
it was...
I was going to
and
say,
then
now
it-
that you've told me it's an
looks
old Holiday Inn,
exactly-
I'm
then
sure I
it
can
was,
pick
and then
this
it was
up.
nothing. It's right there on
How
the corner.
tall is this?
It's about.
It's a 2-story building. It's right
No,
there.
it's 3 stories.
It's the corner of Longwood and East State Street, right where the Circle K McDonald's, right across the street.
Right across the street from there.
It's where McDonald's gets all of its wonderful clientele during the day.
Yes.
All I wanted to say is that the TIF loan was extended for Zion
Yeah,
Development.
and the place is it needs a roof and a boiler, and this will give them a chance to look for a lender to refinance the property and pay the city back on this 15-year loan.
Okay.
Because, as everybody knows, Zion Development is the development ministry wing of Zion Lutheran Church.
Okay. And is Brad Roos in charge of it?
Not anymore. I don't think he's the
He's
director
gone?
there,
Okay.
but he's still involved.
Okay. Now, Caleb, did you read Rockford Advocate this week?
Which story?
It's just flooding with
Are
stuff.
you
Yeah.
planning on
Which
catching
story?
any catfish?
I am not.
Why not?
Why?
Well, in case you are, you can now spear, bow, or pitchfork them.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I'll be doing in the Rock River when
Yeah.
when the ice.
It's already
thaws.
partially thawed. You can
When
go
it-
do it right now. All right, we'll move quickly. Fred VanVleet.
Big Freddie.
Yeah, he'll be at the RACVB fundraiser
Wow.
Thursday the 9th at the district.
We should probably do a live stream there that night.
You think?
Yeah.
Now-
As long as we can get in it with media passes, because I don't want to pay $30.
Now, the word, oh, that's a great idea. Do we get free drinks with media passes? I've never been to media.
I don't know. No,
That's
usually not.
That's a great way to ensure accurate reporting.
As a matter of fact,
give us all kinds of
when I was
booze.
at the Rock River Times, we had parties there for, I can't remember what it was, but we were supposed to get one drink apiece or something like that. And
Really?
And then we were told at the next one there was no drinks.
Well, I can tell you this. The reporting will be a lot better, District and John Crow, with some beverages.
Well, he can pay for them.
So, all right.
Because I think the district has been, how do they say, taken advantage of in the past
The district has been taken advantage of?
by them, their kindness.
All right, this show, we're in the 12th episode of this show. We had a trial episode before that.
I'm not saying,
13
I mean,
episodes. 13 episodes, and you're telling me the district has been taken advantage of? That is the funniest
Their
thing I've heard in
kindness.
13 episodes.
At these private parties that they have hosted, their kindness has been abused as far as the bar tabs go. And I think I was, somewhat directly related to them saying, hey, you've exceeded your bar tab by several dollars. Now it's no more, they cut us off. Let's just say they cut us off 2 hours into this 6-hour event because we put a little bit too many drinks on our bar tab.
Okay.
So if this is at the district, just keep in mind that when they find out who might be attending this thing, that they may not have a free drink
Well,
policy.
why should they hold it against me?
Because you hang out with me.
You had all the drinks. Why hold that against me?
I don't know.
So Fred VanVleet.
VanVleet.
He won't be
VanVleet.
drinking though. Fred doesn't
Yes.
drink.
Well, no, I don't think he's going to drink. I'll have his drinks too. So Fred VanVleet, they'll be there Thursday, February 9th, fundraiser at the district for the RACVB, right?
Yeah.
All right.
He's the sports ambassador.
Sports
for Rockford.
ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you see that he and the Raptors won? He won at the buzzer for the Raptors 905, their D-League team.
He sank 2 free throws to win the game.
Yes, that's
He had
right.
23 in that game. I saw.
Yeah,
some
he
of
beat
some
the
of
Windy City Bulls.
Yeah, they play that.
Now, at the Rosemont at
No, they play in
is
the-
it the Allstate or the
they
Sears?
play in the Sears Center.
Sears Center,
Hoffman
that's it.
Estates.
Okay.
Now, I heard D-League, and I thought I don't pay a lot of attention to basketball. I went to a game once. I had a hot dog eating contest was the highlight. So, leaving apart things like that, I pay a lot more attention to hockey and football. So, I heard D-League, and I thought, why is he in the D-League? I thought he was super awesome.
He's
And he
been
still is super awesome.
He's been up and down.
I didn't realize. So, what leagues are there beneath what I think of as the NBA?
Well, right now there's one sanctioned league, which is
big
the
NBA.
D-League.
So there's only the D-League.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I
there-
thought,
there's
oh
other-
my God, this is below A, B, and C?
no.
And double A and triple A even? Or?
No, it stands for developmental league.
Yes, that's what I found
There
when
used
I
to be the
researched
CBA, which used to be sort of unofficially.
Oh, wait, so the CBA is now the D-League? Kind of.
Well,
morphed into
the CBA was kind of dissolved when the D League kind of came into
Well,
formed.
D-League's better, right?
But the CBA was sort of only unofficially the under the CBA of the National Basketball Association. It never really was, but that was
Right.
that was the official minor league.
Right.
And there still are a lot of minor league basketball being played, but the D League is
the D-League is the official NBA.
It took all
I'll call
of
it Farm
CBA's
League.
talent, and those were great days in Rockford too. The Rockford Lightning. We used to have Chris
Absolutely.
Dalio on. I think he'd come on.
Absolutely.
He's
Yeah.
the assistant coach of Kentucky Wesleyan right now, and I think they've only lost 2 games or something like that.
Well, if he's
doing
in town,
great.
we'll have him on, or we'll
Yeah.
put him on the Skype. So, now, VanVleet is not the only professional athlete that has come from Rockford lately. Dean Lowry,
Nope.
playing for the Packers, sacking people.
Boylan grad.
Boylan grad.
Boylan grad.
His dad's a judge.
His dad is a judge, Judge Sean Lowry. Very nice guy.
Yep. Very large man.
He is. He's tall.
And
yeah,
if
so
you,
it's not surprising that Dean is tall enough to play football.
And his sister, Dean's sister, I believe, is a track athlete at
Oh, I didn't know
Boylan.
that.
I have to.
So word on the street is Dean may come here for a fundraiser.
He may come to
To
this
Rockford.
show.
To lovely Rockford. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can entice him into coming on the show
Yeah, it'd be tough though.
or do some kind of promo. Well, I don't know, but he's coming to Rockford for a fundraiser.
Really?
Further details to be announced.
Yeah,
I think. This
I
is what I've
followed
heard.
his high school career, and he's the real deal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, they put him in. I mean, Packers had a couple guys injured. He goes in, and I think the first game he was in, he starts
He
sacking.
pretty much won a starting spot right away.
Yeah, so good for him.
Yeah. And I don't really know how many Northwestern guys have really made it in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that fact in and of itself is relatively rare.
There's another guy that he played against in one of the state championships who's also in the NFL, running back, who drafted last year.
Maybe we can get Dean Lowry on the Skype.
We could.
Yeah, to
Right.
promote the event if he's coming down for a fundraiser. All right, so there's that. Rockford School Board updates attendance boundaries and moves the bilingual program.
Right.
What's that about?
They're
You mean they
moving.
changed the attendance boundaries?
I don't know. I wasn't really responsible for. I didn't write that. I just posted it. I didn't even edit it. Somebody else did. But that's been on their agenda for a while. They're going to move I think they're going to move the bilingual programs to Eisenhower now, taking it away from Guilford. All they're doing is just kind of rezoning what's going on there.
Okay. Mark Mayhew, we lost.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, Mark Mayhew is an interesting guy. I don't know if you guys ever had a chance to meet him.
I didn't. I know his work. I never met the man, but
There's been a couple of journalists over in my lifetime. One that I really have looked up to. I mean, aside from like the Walter Cronkites of the industry, but local guys. When I was in high school, there was a guy named Bert Angeli. He's still up there in Iron Mountain, Michigan. He's a sports editor. Kind of allowed me to write articles for the paper, covering my high school football games. I was giving him stats every week, and one day he said, "Why don't you write this up and write some copy? Put this in copy for him." I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. I had to ask somebody what that meant, and it just meant write an article. Take these stats and write an article. So write a story about what happened in the game. So I did that for a whole football season, and it kind of made me kind of fall in love with journalism. When I got to Rockford, I met Mayhew, and him and Ken DeCoster, and even some other guys. Were just straight newsmen that were real passionate. And Mayhew was a really smart guy. He's a history buff.
seemed like a good guy.
Yeah.
That's a shame to lose him at 60. I mean,
touched a lot of people, and he had a heart problem, I think last year.
Wow.
And was I think he underwent pretty extensive surgery, lost some weight, and apparently had a heart attack early this week, I heard.
That's tragic.
Yeah.
You get to
Very
be our
good
age,
guy.
you realize 60 is not that old.
From
our perspective. Now, Caleb and Snake, that's word of the wise. Live your life, enjoy it, and have fun.
Mayhew is going to be a tremendous loss,
Yeah.
I think WREX was very very fortunate to have him when he
Absolutely.
left the NTA there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
IceHogs,
Yeah, I was there today.
what are they doing?
Got a new goalie coming in this week, probably from the KHL. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the guy. He's going to be a third goalie on the roster. They've got three guys down from Chicago. Tyler Mott, Gustav Forsling is a guy. He's a defenseman. And of course, Schmaltz. Everyone's healthy now.
Oh,
So
that bodes
I think
well.
they'll start winning some games.
That bodes well.
But again,
They beat the Wolves, right?
they did. I think they may have jumped up to 7th place, which means that if they want a playoff berth or a chance of one, it's going to have to start now, the push.
Okay.
But they're capable of winning some games. So Blackhawks are doing well. All the Rockford guys. Tanner Carroll's still there. Scored last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. I like to see our guys do well up there.
Pride of the UP.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're the pride of the UP, but
Well,
yeah.
he just
So,
makes more money than I
We
do.
need to have another Ice Hog on.
Well, I'm negotiating with Hammy right now.
Hammy? Great, you're going to get Hammy on?
I'm going to get Hammy, but Hammy sometimes requires a fee. That's what we're negotiating.
You're working on
And
that. All right.
there might be a couple of interns with Hammy.
Okay.
And that's a requirement. Hammy goes nowhere without bodyguards.
Hammy's got people.
And
Well, yeah.
Holly might come back because she was impressed with Caleb.
Well, she was very nice. She brought us gifts. I still like my bomber hat. Yes. So, all right.
She asked about Caleb yesterday.
Nice.
She just said, "How's that Caleb?"
Yeah, I'm sure she did.
And what we
All
need
right.
to do is we need to maybe do a show.
About
I don't know about maybe an entire show or at least a live stream from the outdoor practice. It was scheduled for last night in Belvedere. Belvedere has the outdoor rink.
Wait, when is this?
It's going to be rescheduled for probably February or March. But every time they do this, it gets canceled. They were going to do a practice at the
I
Mississippi
totally do
Lagoon. That got rained out, I think, 2 years in a row. Now I think this might be 3 years in a row now that the outdoor practice has been rained out.
Oh.
But it's real fun.
Let me know. We'll
I've
go
done
do
it
it.
in the past. It's
No,
a
I'd
good
like to
time.
go see that.
I mean, the
Yeah,
community
that's-
comes out. The kids are around. It's like a game setting.
Well, sure. It's like our own winter classic.
Yeah, it
right
kind of is.
here in
Yeah.
our area. Fantastic.
So
Yeah, we'll go check
Hammy
that
will
out.
be there. But I'll see Hammy on Friday night. I'll see what.
Well, you having drinks with Hammy or what?
Well, today's conversation was short because a lot
Hammy
of
doesn't
people
talk,
want
really.
that Hammy. I mean, they're
but Hammy doesn't talk.
well.
So I'd imagine most conversations are short.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of people that he's pulled in all kind of different directions. I think he's at like a children's hospital today. Might be at an elementary school tomorrow. They got the anti-bullying tour going on right now. The IceHogs are appearing at local schools talking about bullying, and I think Hammy's in tow.
telling people to not bully?
Yeah, and then
Oh, boy.
he can wield it. Hammy's about what would you say he weighs? 400 or 500 pounds. He can play in the NFL. He's got the size.
The NFL or the NHL?
And he's big enough to. He's a little cumbersome for the NHL.
Probably play for
Unless
the
we-
Cubs. Some of those guys
Yeah.
are looking a little tubby.
Unless we bring back the days of Harold Schweppes. Remember him? A guy
No,
he was
I
an old
don't.
defenseman
I
who played for the
don't.
Red
This
Wings.
is, this is
All right.
we're not going down this rabbit trail.
That's
Caleb
well-
clearly has a date. He has
Did he
somewhere to
really?
be. We're going to let him go. So with that, we thank our sponsor, Downtown Barber Shave Club. Don't forget to check them out at dtbarbers.com.
Very big. That's it, we're done?
dtbarbers.com. We'll put the link in there. Pardon me?
We're all done.
And we're done.
We're going to
Yeah,
talk.
that's
We're going
it.
to talk about the new series
We'll talk about that next week.
because I got there's just on that note though there's a couple of developments.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about those. We'll talk about that next week. Next week, we're joined by Rudy Valdez. The Rudy Valdez running for mayor.
And there's something weird about not weird about his daughter, but something weird about the fact that I've been in City Hall now 3 times in the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
and I run into his daughter on the elevator. 3 times. Justin and I were in the elevator together going to the press conference. The elevator opens. There's Rudy's daughter. The next day I was in there. There's Rudy's daughter on the elevator. And then she was walking onto the elevator while I was walking by.
Well, does his daughter work there?
I believe so. But
Well,
why
that
am I
doesn't
running
really seem that weird
into
to me.
Rudy Valdez's
Okay,
daughter?
okay, that's it. Episode 12
So
is
I mean, it might
Over.
clearly mean that
that is it.
Rudy.
That
I don't know. This could mean something.
It probably doesn't mean anything, Harry. She works there in City Hall.
she works in the building. She probably thinks it's weird that you keep showing up. That's it. Episode 12 is over. Thank you, Rockford. Good night.